Hey everybody, Wakia here, Thunder, doing a little nighttime jaunt in front of the camera. Now that I'm back in my own place, I can pretty much do whatever I want in my apartment, that is. Um, first of all, I want to thank Matt Watching Wolf for sending me the great T-shirt. Appreciate it. Gonna have to put on some extra weight because he sent me an extra large, but it's all good because right now I got it up hanging on the wall just to look at it. So Matt, thank you. I may have to do some serious shrinkage of that thing. It could be a 10. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. Anyway, just thought I'd talk about a few things. I don't know, I just felt like sitting here talking, looking at what's going on in the world. And remember my last video I did? I talked about, I don't know if it was my last one, might have been the one before last. I was talking about, the financial situation and China and how things could, a black swan event could happen or things could ramp up. And it's funny, right after I did that video talking about China's stock market going down, they devaluated their yuan, which is their currency. And they've done it 3 times now, and that's not a good sign. That's just like I said. But see, like I said in that video, the previous video, is that they cover these things up. I mean, the U.S. makes light of it. Well, basically, it's affecting the stock market big time, although they have what they call a stock market, a crash protection team or something that goes in there and monkeys around with the numbers. Okay, monkey. The monkey mind. Reminds me of that Zen saying, the monkey mind. It's always busy doing nefarious things. But anyway, that happened. Excuse me. That happened, and so it started a little bit of causing a little bit of friction in the financial world. And now I saw this thing today, I think it was on Natural News or something, where they had a huge explosion in China at some port. And that article said that they thought that maybe it was a retaliation by the West. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying what I read. Because China devaluated their yuan. Now see, when they did that, when they devaluated their yuan, say that 600 times, they did make some waves, and it could be perceived as an attack. And I even said, I posted somewhere on somebody else's video, that this might have been a move by China to crash the dollar, crash our currency, bring down our financial system. What's the other thing I heard? That could happen. It could happen. They could. That's how they could work it. China's not stupid. And there's a full-blown war. Like I said in the previous video, China has said to Russia that they consider themselves at war with the U.S., so you can expect anything. You can expect anything to happen with this. But then again, we see things ramp up, and like I said before, they ramp down, and then they mellow out, and then they somehow put in a plunge protection team. Is that what I said before? I think that's what, I mean, I might have made a mistake. It's a plunge protection team to fix different things so that things keep running as normal, or they seem normal. But all these financial experts are saying September, September. I don't know. I have a skepticism about anybody that foretells a specific time. Excuse me. A specific time for anything to crash or go down or end or whatever. And several religious organizations have talked about end times and when they're going to come. They call it eschatology, where they sit there and they try to figure out when the end's coming. Several organizations have predicted the end coming at different times. I like the Hopi point of view. Of course I would, being tribal, native. I like their point of view, which is just telling you about a bunch of different things that are going to happen, and before the proverbial shit hits the fan, Now the Bible does the same thing. It does. I mean, there's prophecy everywhere. The Bible speaks of all kinds of things, in the last days, the love of the greater number will cool off, and I've read the Bible from cover to cover. And just because I wanted to, and just because I wanted to look at prophecy in there and things, you don't have to take things literal. You can read between the lines. But I was talking to, I think it was my son, and I was saying, well, sometimes I look at the Bible and I wonder, is it just a big hoax? Because if there's this God up there that the Jews portrayed, Yahweh, that is supposed to bring about certain things, and certain things are supposed to occur, and then you have the evangelicals with the second coming, and you have the crew that believes in people will just disappear. What do they call that? The rapture or something. But how long have I been alive? And I haven't seen I haven't seen it yet. And people have been talking about it for years and years and years, and but things to me seem like they do seem to me, okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, because there's arguments that would oppose this point of view, but it does seem to me that, I mean, maybe I'm just getting old, or maybe I'll live too long and see in a better times, but it seems to me like things are ramping up and more intense things are happening. Is it just because this is a technological world and that we hear more news than we did, let's say, when I was a kid? Because a lot of the same stuff, a lot of horrific stuff was going back on when I was growing up and in the 60s, and there were starving babies in Africa, and there were a lot of the same stuff that's going on now that's just not as publicized. So, sometimes I scratch my head and I go, well, are things ramping up, or am I just, is there just more media coverage of things? And I think I'm going to have to go with, I think things are ramping up. It just seems that there's an intensity, number one, and even if some of these things, like when America is at continual war and taking down sovereign nations, and things have definitely changed. I mean, there may be some people that say, well, it's always been like this, but I don't know. You guys comment. You guys leave some comments and tell me if you think things have changed, if you think things are kind of reaching a critical mass. These are things that we talk about around the campfire, okay? And that's why I formed the organization Campfire Council, so that we could talk around, like, have a campfire setting, like that campfire in back of me. Actually, that's a lamp. But it looks like a campfire. It'll do for now. But that's what we should be doing as a group of people, is sitting around and discussing things in a calm manner, in kind of a laid-back manner, and just looking at things with less intensity and more, let's say, wisdom on the matter, and clear thinking on the matter. Because you go to a lot of these alternative sites, and I watch some of them just to try to keep up on what they think is happening. And man, they're really intense with, yeah, man, it's going to happen tomorrow. The crash is right now, man. It's going to, and they're going on and on and on. It's more reasonable to sit around like I am and discuss matters, in a forum, and get everybody's consensus. Okay. And it would be helpful for people to leave comments on here and pass this video around, and we can kind of get a campfire council. See, that was my original concept in forming the Campfire Council, was for us to sit around, for people to sit around and bond, okay, and to think about sacred ways and traditions and older ways, or just good ways, or ways that we consider to be not dark ways, but light ways, ways to circumvent and to deal with the stuff that we see happening, okay? One of the things I can tell you for sure is that one of the ways that you deal with all this stuff is trusting, okay, and having faith in something that is greater than ourselves, our lower selves, even if it's your higher self. Turn the burden over to the higher self, or the higher power, or the Great Spirit, grandfather, the Ancient of Ancients, your spirit guides, that surround us all. Sometimes it's a little bit too much to take, all this stuff, and the complexities of life and the changes of life. And so we have to detach, in a certain sense, and look at kind of the bigger picture, okay, and try to evaluate it from a view of having a consensus of different people. And when I say comment on this video and pass it around, I'm not trying to get hits or anything like that. I'm trying to get a consensus here, because shouldn't the people be the ones that dictate what people like me that come on here, shouldn't you guys be the ones to dictate and give your opinion on how you think matters in the world are, and what your answers are, and what your faith is, or what you believe? Because then we can get a reasonable dialogue going. And of course, there's always going to be people that go overboard, and I don't want just Bible thumpers saying, God said it would be the end of the times, and no, that's not how I want to. That's not the kind of comments I want. Okay, you can say that, but let's discuss you know, the particulars about it, and let's discuss things like, well, why haven't we received any relief to this point, and why would a loving God allow some things to happen? I mean, let's get deeper into it, okay? Not just believe in Jesus Christ and you'll be saved, you know? That don't cut it with me. I want to see some facts, and I want to see some reasoning, and I want to see some spirituality, which is much different, okay, than just spouting off rote memorization of dogma, okay? That doesn't cut it with me, sorry. So a council should be a group of elders, and I consider myself an elder and a wisdom keeper, that sit around and talk about problems that we may be able to come up, you know, to create a solution for, okay? Or how we view particular media outlets, whether they be alternative, or where do we get our information from, and is the information slanted to a great degree for reasons unknown, political or otherwise? You always have to wonder that stuff. Anytime you see anything that comes from any media source, you have to consider, you know, the source, the true source behind it, not just, yeah, this is alternative media, so they're for truth and light, and here's the mainstream media, they're for darkness. Well, that's probably true, but you have to watch out for agendas, okay? You have to watch out for agendas. What's the agenda of the talking head? Okay, what's my agenda? My agenda is what I just stated. News that is discussed around a council of elders and debated on and looked at, and maybe some positive things will come out of our debate, or our mouths, or whatever, you know, whatever people really truly need. Okay, this should be about what people need. And see, I saw a lot of this stuff coming as a young man. I saw a lot of this stuff coming. Okay, I've had visions for quite some time. Some of them scare me, okay, to be truthful with you, because they come true. So thunder is somebody that is not a lightweight. If you like the way I talk, if you like the approach, maybe you should join the Campfire Council. There's links below with that in the show notes, so maybe you should check into it. And maybe you should get on here and start talking. And because, see, regardless, I think that this is a time. The time is right, okay, for people of kindred minds and kindred souls and kindred spirits, and people that are looking for a way out of the distress that we seem to find ourselves in should join hands. Okay, we're all brothers. We're all brothers and sisters, and on this planet, and we're all in the same big canoe. Okay, so we might as well row together and in unison, right? So I would urge anybody, you know, maybe I'll just name this video something about, you know, let's have a campfire council, and we'll sit around and we'll talk, okay, heart to heart, Because I talk from the heart, and I think you can feel that. I don't have any notes. I don't look up at the screen here and look up at the screen there and go, Iran's going to turn down this nuclear deal and blah, 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 and I'm No, I don't do that. I speak from the heart. I let Spirit move me. And Spirit is moving me to talk about getting people together in this council. And I'm not trying to get members for the Campfire Council. We're totally happy with the 35 that we have. I want anybody that wants to get on the council, and like I said, the links are below, that you have to be of this mindset where you want to contribute something that's positive, okay? And you want to get more into the old indigenous ways and the sacred ways of thinking. And you want to contribute in a healthy way and not in a demeaning way or the way of the troll. Okay? So let's talk, people. Let's see, let's see what we can come up with here. And there's no topic here that's off the table. I mean, I'll talk about anything, okay? I'll talk about, firearms. I'll talk about sex. I'll talk about what's prevalent in the world. I'll talk about world affairs. I'll talk about relationships. I'll talk about anything. Nothing is off the table, okay? And I've done so many videos. I've done over 200 videos that have done this very thing. I've talked about everything. And I've seen myself grow in the videos. And sometimes I go, oh man, maybe I ought to take that video off. Or I might think a little bit different. But there's no need for that, because there's always a little golden gem in some of my videos, and I've matured, and I watch myself grow, and I watch myself go through changes on there, the yin and yang of life. So it's all good. Doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong. But as I move along on the journey, walking the red road, I see how really important it is. It's very, very important that mankind unify into a bond of goodness, okay, and a bond of fellowship, okay, that is beyond religion and beyond, it's more spiritual. And it has to do with connecting, dropping the facade, okay, of organized religion or organized belief systems with an agenda, okay, and just talking heart to heart as people, like before religion, BR, before religion, or before beliefs, BB. Let's just talk about what we know and what we feel. Okay, I'll leave it there today. I don't want to ramble on and on and on. So this is Thunder. Just some little thoughts there for consideration, like I always say. Over.